Joining us now, Alabama Attorney General Steve Marshall. It's good to see you, sir. Why did you and more than a dozen state attorneys general sign a letter to media outlets, including the New York Times, Reuters, CNN, and AP, putting them, quote, on notice about providing material support to terrorists like Hamas? What was happening here?
I think what we saw as a result of the coverage of the events of October 7th was that there was immediacy to the reporting of Hamas activities, and we saw it occurring through those that had previously freelanced or worked with several media outlets. And it raises a significant concern, not only from a criminal side, when you have statutes on the books, both federally at the state level, about material support for terrorist organizations, but also whether or not we're truly receiving the news and accurate reporting of what's taking place in the Middle East, or in fact, are we receiving propaganda from terrorist organizations?
So, but media outlets say they've cut ties with the so-called freelance journalists. You're saying the Attorney General is saying their connections to these terror groups are too obvious to hide. Do you think they're doing enough to vet who they're getting their stories from? Because, the media could say, well, this is an encroachment on their free press rights.
Yeah, we clearly recognize the freedom of the press, the ability to provide sourcing. But here is a legitimate question about those who had existing financial relationships with media organizations that clearly were embedded with Hamas when they began their invasion into Israel on October 7th and ultimately taking the lives and raping Israeli citizens that day. What did they know? What was their connection? And did they, in fact, know the fact that these individuals that worked with them previously had relationships with these terrorist organizations?
So the New York Times, you guys are saying they covered evidence that the media outlets were hiring individuals with close ties to Hamas and terrorist organizations. There was someone who worked for the AP and Reuters. He was shown posting a video. He was carrying a grenade on a motorcycle during the 10/7 attacks. I mean, AP has also been told in the past that it has had journalists working at its Hamas-affiliated Quds TV. So this has been an issue that, when you cover a war zone like this, when you cover terrorists, basically that's like Lord of the Flies, the entire region of Gaza. When you have reporters inside there, they're working their sources. Sometimes you're saying they may get too close to those sources?
Oh, in fact, we have pictures of one of these individuals kissing the mastermind of the October 7th attack. And so when we think about, for example, all of the information initially about the activities of the Israeli military forces involving a hospital and whether or not there was a loss of life and what truly happened, you have to question where that information is coming and how it's being vetted to being provided to the American people. Clearly, Joe Biden has acknowledged that Hamas is a terrorist organization, but to the extent that there are media outlets relying upon individuals that are connected to Hamas, how can we trust that information being given to the American people?
Got it. Attorney General Steve Marshall, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And we're